right. Well, Jett, let me ask you a question. I mean, life as it is right now, has it always been like this for you? I mean, were you born like this?
Obviously, you know the answer to that. No, I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, and a lot of the challenges people read and hear about growing up in LA, I lived through that stuff. You know, you hear about gangs and drugs and all these type of negatives, and, you know, I dealt with that, lived through it, and it was from that I just made a decision that I had to have a different reality. I had to have a different type of lifestyle. I did not want to continue in the type of situation I was seeing around me.
So you're basically saying that you were born in South Central LA, which a lot of people will call the ghetto. And so you came from that particular area and you went through all the things that people go through who come from that area, because I know that I came from the projects up in the Oakland, California area, and you're down in Southern California and so forth, experiencing the same type of situation. And so what was it about what was happening during that particular period of time in your life? I mean, what were you seeing that got you to say, you know what, this is not how I want my life to be?
So much negativity, there's so much violence. Seeing people strung out on drugs and seeing that destitution, seeing the alcoholism, seeing people with all these negative situations. And then, you know, you look on something like television and you see these folks sitting out on yachts with these cocktails, traveling around the world. And it's like the reality, what you see when you watch your TV, was so different than the reality I was living. I was like, well, man, there's got to be a better or a different way to live life. And I wanted to experience that.
And so how old were you when you started to think that way? When you said, wait a minute, I'm looking at all the television glamour and all the stuff that's happening, but there's no glamour around me. So how can I experience this glamour? How old were you? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, I was 8 and 9, just really realizing that, man, people were living different type of existences. My mother was a school teacher. I was raised by a single parent, and so she really emphasized the importance of education. And so she used to have me bus. She used to send me to schools out in West Los Angeles. I go to schools out in Hollywood, so I'd see the interaction and how other people were maybe living different. As I said, watching television, you'd see that, and then you see how the type of things people were involved in right there in my community. And I was like, there's just got to be a better way of living life.
And so were there any changes in your actions then in between 8 years of age all the way on up to teenager and so forth? I mean, was there something that started to shift for you in regards to the different things that you started to do to generate revenue or to figure out how you can make life better for yourself? Tell us about the progression of that throughout those years.
We utilized the terminology of defining moments, and I had a couple really defining moments in my life. Probably one of the first ones was when my mother went on an educational seminar to Hawaii, and she took me with her, me and my brother. And so we come to Hawaii, and this was when I was like 12, and I was just overwhelmed by it, Jerry. I mean, the beauty, the tranquility, the peace. I mean, as a 12-year-old, I just remember this thought. My whole thinking was that, wow, this must have been where Adam and Eve got kicked out of. I mean, this must be Eden. This is paradise. This is the ultimate. This is the lifestyle. I mean, the beautiful ocean, the beautiful trees, the peace, everybody's smiling, everybody's, aloha, everybody. I mean, it was just like, wow, it must be the most ultimate life to be able to live in that type of scenario. And that was definitely a defining moment, just to even realize that that's a possibility, that's even an alternative, that people could even live in a place like that. That very much impacted me. And then another real defining moment to where I made a life change, and then I made that decision that I was going to either win in life or I prefer to perish. I mean, it was just really that clear to me. I had an experience at 14 where, you know, just some of the negatives and dealing with me and a best friend, and we're running from this sort of gang of people who are just extremely hostile and shooting at us and stuff, and we're trying to clear it and everything, and I cleared the fence and my best friends didn't clear it, and he made it and got killed in that situation. And, you know, it was just one of those things of, man, I'm that close to dying, and seeing that happen to him, I'm like, I got to escape, I got to get out of this. And so that was definitely a defining moment for me, and I was just like, I don't want to live in this type of environment anymore. I've got to do something different. It was very clear to me at that point, not knowing anyone that was wealthy, not knowing any millionaires or anything like that, but once again, just from looking at television, I made that decision that I wanted to become a millionaire. To me, if I could accumulate wealth, then I could travel, then I could get out of that environment, then I could live a different reality and some of the things that you see people experiencing. And I was like, I want to do whatever it takes to make that happen.
Wow. So it seems like a couple things here. Number one, you really had a strong backbone there with your mother. I mean, you had the single parent and so forth, but she was really strong individual, really wanted to give you the values and the things that would allow you to be able to create a better life and so forth.
Right.
So it seems like that was number one. And then
very much fun. I mean, her strength, her character, her dedication. I look back over it, and you talk about sacrifice. I mean, being a single parent, you know, choosing not to date just because she didn't want to have different men and everything around us. She was choosing to play football, so driving me to the football practice. I played basketball, doing that. She gets me into drama, takes me into this, takes me to that, and that dedication for me and my brother meant so much, and her exposing us to these different things. And then, as I said, that trip to Hawaii just was sort of the ultimate in saying, okay, there is a different way to live life as opposed to just the things people were caught up into in our community.
And it seems like exposure is a very important key element here, because you're in the particular environment that you were in. You were engrossed in everything that was around it, was happening and so forth. And nevertheless, you started to allow your mind to think outside of the environment, and being exposed to other areas, you started to notice that, wow, not only do these other environments exist on TV, but they really exist in real life.
Exactly.
And so your mother bring you to Hawaii. Now let me ask you about this, because you were 12 years of age, you're in Hawaii, you're seeing how beautiful it is and so forth. Were you thinking at that time, my goodness, if I can live here one day, or did you make a decision that I'm going to live here one day? Or, I mean, what were your thoughts about that?
My thought at that time, because I didn't have that belief level, I didn't have that type of hope. My thought was, if that was ever possible in life, to live in something type of environment like this, that would be the ultimate. But at that point, I didn't see that happening for me. I was just like, wow, that would be the ultimate lifestyle if that could ever happen.
But it was just powerful just to be in the environment yourself physically.
To see, even know that these type of situations existed, yes, extremely powerful.
Now let me ask you this, was it a very emotional experience for you?
Extremely emotional. It's like the absolute ultimate. It was nirvana. It was, man, I felt such a peace. I felt such a connection. I mean, you don't realize the stress that you are under in inner city, but when you're hearing helicopters every night, hearing sirens, hearing gunshots all the time, hearing just traffic noise and everything like that, then when you come to an environment like this, and it's completely peace, completely quiet, all you hear is waves and the sound of the wind blowing through the trees, and it's like, my, this is just amazing. And so, yeah, it was extremely emotional. I was like, if that could ever happen to me, it would be such a blessing.
And the reason why I asked if it was emotional, because a lot of times when people have a dream or a desire or just anything, and the more emotion that they attach to it, the more it actually does something for them and engaging them in actions that will allow that to be manifested. And so the reason why I'm saying that is because right now, you're living here in Hawaii. Right now, you get a chance to have the wind breeze going through the trees and so forth. You get a chance to sit here right now in your beautiful office, and we're overlooking the ocean right now. We see the Pacific Ocean right there. I mean, my goodness, you know, and you got these big coconut trees right here and everything, and all this stuff is right here. So the question I have for you is, do you think that there's a correlation to you being in Hawaii at the age of 12, experiencing that, having something emotional happen, thinking, man, this will be the ultimate, to actually living it right now?
I definitely do. As I said, it planted a seed in terms of that would be the ultimate. And then as I started the working on myself, as I started the personal development, as I started changing my beliefs about what could be done, what could be accomplished, what I can do and be and have as a human being, then it came to a point where I said, that's what I'm going to create. I'm going to make that happen in my life. I'm going to live in Hawaii one day. So, yeah, the seed was planted there as I went on to work on myself to achieve financial independence. Then it became clear to me that I was going to live here one day, and I became very clear on that.
Now, you just said something very important. You said as you began to work on yourself.
Right.
So at what point would you say you deliberately started to work on yourself? I mean, you said, okay, I'm going to work on myself. And what does working on myself mean? I mean, who told you to work on yourself? Who told you that was even something that's necessary?
I can tell you exactly when. As I said, I went through that second very much defining moment with the death of my friend. And at that point, I made a decision. And this is one of the key words I teach. This is what, when I'm talking to people, when I'm sharing with folks, when I'm encouraging them to live their life dreams and to win and to fight, I talk about making a decision, because so many of us might make a decision to get a college education, or I'm going to marry that particular spouse, and the effort, the energy that comes from that decision to make that happen. Well, it was at that point at age 14 where I made that decision that I was going to be a millionaire.